Hi, folks. Coming to you here again from my mobile office. It's a great place to record videos. Um, so I just wanted to post a bit of an overview of the first module here to kind of put together all of the different viewpoints that we've been reading this first week and a half. Just a little announcement before I start, though. There have been a few conference calls posted. We recorded two last weekend, and they came out really well, I think, and there'll be two more recorded this coming weekend. So if you get a chance, please download those and listen to those. Even if you don't have time to listen to all of them, listen to them a bit. See if you found those useful. Do they clarify anything for you? Do they confuse things? We did cover quite a few different topics, but a lot of I had a chance while we were doing it to explain a lot of different things. The folks who recorded them really knew the material pretty well, so I think they're pretty useful in terms of getting another way of looking at the material. So take a look at those if you get a chance, and please post your comments below them in the blog. Okay, so we're finishing up the first unit pretty soon here, and we've been looking at a number of different questions. One, are human beings sort of violent by their nature? Is there something biologically evolved in human beings or in our psychology that makes us prone to violence? Two, we've been asking sort of what are the origins of war? We've gotten a lot of different origins of war explanations from different theorists here. So we've been wondering whether war has its origin in human nature, or whether it depends on society, a particular social organization. That's the real cause of war. Those are sort of the large questions of this module. And so we started off with Hobbes, who is a very important kind of explanation for violence in human beings. That's still sort of taken as a reasonable explanation for why we do tend to fight when we're outside of a government there. And once you've read the Pinker, you'll see that there is quite a bit of evidence that among anthropologists that coming under a strong political authority, submitting to some kind of central authority to adjudicate between conflicts, does tend to reduce violence quite a bit. So, Pinker does a lot of sort of research and analysis on levels of violence in pre-state societies versus levels of violence in state societies. I did want to say something about what that means, state and pre-state societies. I know a lot of people are not familiar with that kind of theoretical term. So the state doesn't refer to, like a state within the United States. It refers to a particular nation state. Initially, historically, the term nation was used for large political organizations, and it tended to have a kind of like ethnic connotation to it. So a nation was a group of people that shared some kind of background in terms of society and culture and ethnicity. So when we talk about nationalism, oftentimes nationalism is sort of generated around this idea of we all share a particular identity. Nationalism's been particularly problematic in Europe, for instance, in the 19th and 20th centuries, in terms of generating wars and causing problems in those days. Today we've sort of moved away from this nationalist idea towards the state idea, and oftentimes you hear nation state together. So I've written the term in that way a number of times, because it refers to there may be a large group of people within that state that share a kind of ethnic background, social background, a nationality, but there may also be a lot of people that don't. So within the United States, here's a state where there are many of us who don't share any kind of particular ethnic, social background. It's the melting pot, and so although we all are under a particular government, under the Constitution, all the same laws apply to us. We don't share a nationality, so it makes more sense to refer to the United States today as a state. So state is a kind of a term that refers to the political framework under which a group of people are, a set of laws, a constitution, a border, rather than a shared ethnicity, society, cultural background, something like that. So we'll sometimes use those terms interchangeably, but nation is a kind of earlier idea of of a political group, and a state is a kind of more modern, contemporary, where we're more mixed up under the state, but we're all under the same constitution and political laws. Um, so as you can see, the debate is not resolved. There's a lot of evidence on the side that entering into a state kind of society does reduce violence quite a bit. Steven Pinker provides a lot of evidence in that way. But we do have a lot of anthropologists on the other side of the debate as well that we read, like Douglas Fry, who think that violence is largely a product of these modern states. There are examples of pre-state societies that were not very violent. When we read Brian Ferguson, we see this argument that it's actually contact with these large states that causes smaller tribal groups to become more warlike. Their way of life is disrupted and threatened, and these are the causes for their seeming warlikeness. So it's a really interesting debate. It's not really resolved. It's sort of still developing through evolutionary psychology and forensic anthropology, and we're still sort of digging through our history there. But hopefully you found it interesting and informative. So I'll be posting an intro to the next module pretty soon. If you have any final thoughts or questions about this first module, please post them below and we can continue the discussion.